3, 2, 1, let's open G-Spell.
It was all pomp and circumstance at the grand opening of the new 30,000 square feet Ground Systems Power and Energy Laboratory, also called G-Spell. This 8-in-1 laboratory is a place where engineers develop energy-efficient combat vehicles and equipment for our troops, and it's pegged as the Army's cornerstone of power and energy initiatives. The doors of the G-Spell complex are officially open, so we took a tour of all 8 laboratories to see how in-depth the Army's strong efforts go at optimizing energy. The Power and Energy Vehicle Environmental Lab is the centerpiece of G-Spell and one of the world's largest environmental chambers. This lab can simulate heat from the desert and cold from the Antarctica and go from one extreme to the next in a matter of minutes. Senator Carl Levin helped secure almost $25 million in defense and military construction appropriation funds for the completion of G-Spell.
We have lost troops protecting convoys of fuel. We are trying to produce vehicles that use less fuel. We're going to produce better fuels. We're going to do it all here at the world's best integrated facility for the development and testing for advanced fuels and the technologies which will create them.
Soldiers carry over 400 pounds of batteries for a 72-hour mission and more than that in fuel. Microgrid installations in Afghanistan will eliminate some of that, as well as some of the testing done here at G-Spell. The Energy Storage Lab tests batteries in explosion-proof chambers.
A typical liquid-filled lead-acid battery like you find in most cars, you can only technically recharge it from dead to back to life about 5 or 6 times. I have batteries here that have done 1,500 cycles.
And 95% of military fleets use these high-capacity batteries. The Ground Systems Power and Energy Laboratory welcomes industry and academia to access their labs and exchange information and ideas. If your school or company is interested in testing in the G-Spell labs, contact TARDEC through the Ground Vehicle Gateway at groundvehiclegateway.com. I'm Wanta Kaufman for Warm Biz.
Voting. It's not only a privilege, but our patriotic duty. I caught up with some Warren voters earlier today who were out making their voices heard bright and early.
The preliminary sets the stage for, of course, the November ballots, and it shows that the people care what happens in their city, and they want to keep things the way they are and possibly improve them.
Well, my father came from Ireland, couldn't vote, so he drummed it into us when we were little kids. Vote, vote, vote.
What issues are important to you on the ballot today?
The big importance is the fire and the police. I would like to see it pass because I would like to see the same standards.
Well, it's important to keep the DIA open. That's very important.
Well, we have a Senate race, right? That's very important. But we have some millages, too, that we got to decide whether we want them or not.
Hey, if you got a complaint with the city or the state, the government, whatever, that's your time to say so.
What changes would you like to see brought to Warren?
Brought to Warren? Mm-hmm. Well, these millages, I'm assuming, I think that's why they're on, is because the property values have gone down. I'd like to see the property values go back up.
I don't know. It's a pretty good town to live in. I've lived here since 1967.
The votes have been cast, and the residents will soon decide what's in store for Warren's future. For your 2012 primary coverage, I'm Kristen Sklad. A suspected pimp was shot and killed early this morning at this house behind me here on Page Street on the south end of Warren after he exchanged gunfire with the Warren Police Department. The police say a nasty altercation took place between the alleged pimp, his escort, and the John who requested her services. This dash cam video and the actual 911 call lets you know just how intense the scene was in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Police say it all started when 2 roommates ordered a prostitute from a website called Backpage.com. She arrived around midnight, and once the deed was done, the woman wasn't satisfied with her compensation, so she called her alleged pimp to help her collect. Police say the man forced his way into the home with a .380 semi-automatic handgun, pointed at one of the men. That's when the other called 911.
911, what's your emergency? I don't know, somebody walked in my house with a gun. He's got a gun to my roommate's head right now.
When the police arrived on the scene, the suspect greeted them with 2 gunshots. The first hit Officer Donald Vyers in the stomach, and this is the bulletproof vest that saved Officer Dan Vyers' life. Next, the Warren police officers returned the favor with the 58 rounds of gunfire that killed the 53-year-old suspected pimp we now know as Robert Day of Ecorse, Michigan.
You don't feel like anybody's safe, no matter how locked your door is. Bullets go through walls, can hit people when they're sleeping. And I tell you what, I give a lot of props to the city of Warren because they're up against stuff that they don't even know.
And Commissioner Green also gives props to his officers.
A person shoots at police officers, there's an expected consequence. You know, a lot of times people will say, well, there were a lot of shots, return shots, fired. The officers are trained to eliminate the threat and take whatever action is necessary to do that. And I think the officers did a fine job. I'm very confident that the officers acted appropriately.
Commissioner Green also says releasing this video helps the public understand just how dangerous police work can be. Officer Donald Vyers was treated and released from St. John Macomb Hospital. He's expected to have a full recovery. I'm Wanta Kaufman for TV Warren News.